Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Dela Fitriani Kurnia. So in here, I will explain to you about my journal analysis, which are in here, there are 5 journal that I have analyzed. So let's start to the first journal. The first journal is about formative and summative evaluation techniques for improvement of learning process. The author are Bilal Ahmad Bhat and G.H. Jilani Bhat and published by European Journal of Business and Social Science in May 2019. The background in here, so successful schools engage students in all aspects of their learning. There are many strategies for accomplishing this. So one such strategy is student-led conferences. So schools can be said to be successful if they involve all aspects of learning. So as a classroom teacher or administrator, how do you ensure that the information shared in a student-led conference provide a balanced picture of the student's strength or weakness? The answer to this is to balance both summative and formative classroom assessment practice and information gathering about student learning. So one of all aspects is make students as leaders in conferences. The teacher's job is only to make sure that information shared in the conference talk about the strength and weakness of students. So the questions that appear is how to ensure that students have the improvement through formative and summative assessment. The purpose is to describe ways for the learning of students improve. So next, the method is literature review method and basis of secondary sources of data collected from the various journal, research, article, books, thesis, different psychological, sociological theories, and dissertation, and etc. The methodology of study also inputs the thoughts and writings of various authors in the stream of academic and research fields. The result in here, formative assessment, ideally, formative assessment strategies improve teaching and learning simultaneously, and then instructors can help students grow as learners by actively encouraging them to self-assess their own skills and knowledge retention, and by giving clear instruction and feedback. Some valuable suggestions are as follows. The first, keep clear criteria for what defines good performance, and then encourage students self-reflection. Third is give students detailed, actionable feedback. And the fourth is encourage teacher and peer dialogue around learning, and then promote positive motivational belief and self-esteem, and then collect information which can be used to help shape teaching, and then use a rubric or table of specification, and then design clear, effective question, and then assess comprehensiveness. 10 is make parameters clear and analyze and consider blind grading. So I'm sorry for the result. There is nothing such as a table or graph because actually in the journal pure there is nothing it. And then the conclusion, formative assessment is a great way to measure a student's performance during instruction and usually occurs regularly throughout the instruction process, while summative assessments can serve as a guide to improving teaching methods. We all use different teaching methodology within the classroom. So we will continue to the next. The second journal is about student perspective on assessment for learning. The author are Christopher De Luca, Alison Kepana, Daniela Leplinte, MC Ewana, and then etc. In here, can you see? And then published by the Curriculum Journal at 2018. For background, assessment for learning has become a dominant discourse across educational policies throughout the world and provides a compelling alternative to traditional large-scale testing mandates by squarely focusing on student learning as the primary purpose of assessment. And then to this end, contemporary research has primarily served to reconceptualize formative assessment as AFL and provide guidelines, principles, and approaches to support teachers' integration of assessment throughout their teaching practice. And then for a question, the first is what AFL approaches do students report using in their classroom? The second is how frequently do students report using various AFL process in their classroom? And then what AFL process do students perceive as valuable for their learning? And then the last is how do students use and value of AFL approaches differ by grade level. And the purpose is the first to report AFL approaches that students use in the classroom. And then the second is to calculate frequently students use various AFL approaches in the class. And then the third is to determine students' perceive about AFL approaches as valuable or not for learning. And then fourth is to tell ways about students' use and value of AFL approaches different in grade level. Next, to the method. The method is interview method. And then data were collected through student surveys with all students and portfolio-based interviews. And then for result is using AFL approaches is learned behavior. Students need to be explicitly taught about AFL concept, terminology, and use over time. In our study, senior students were able to identify when their teachers were using AFL approaches. However, we using AFL approaches in learned behavior. Students need to be explicitly taught about AFL concept, terminology, and use over time. In our study, senior students were able to identify when their teachers were using AFL approaches. However, we would argue that given the fairly recent inclusion of AFL concept and terminology in the public education system, even the senior level students in this study have yet to fully internalize AFL process as a habit for their learning. For the discussion, despite the rapidly growing AFL movement evident in policy and practitioner literature over the past decade, there has been comparatively limited research on students' responses to AFL. The majority of existing research has either focused on students' general responses to various assessment conceptions or on specific AFL approaches. For example, peer feedback, largely from New Zealand and European context. And then for conclusion, students may view this practice simply as part of teaching and learning. The authors also note that many students didn't value peer or self-assessments and preferred teacher feedback because students were concerned with the reliability and validity of peer feedback and were insecure about sharing their work with peers. So next to the third journal about approaching problem-solving skills of momentum and impulse phenomena using context and problem-based learning, published by European Journal of Educational Research on 2019. For background, science is changing along with time, including cyber technology. Now, cyber technology is no longer a tool but is embedded in human life, which later become the entry point of the industrial revolution era 4.0. And then several aspects of 21st century skills must be mastered by students, including learning and innovation skill consisting of critical thinking skill, problem solving, communication and collaboration skills, creativity and innovation, especially in science. So physics is one of the components of science. Studying physics will not be enough if only knowing and memorizing, but students must understand the concept. And then one of concept of physics is momentum and impulse, which are related to daily life that will make it easier for students to solve a physics problem. For a question is how to solve the student's problem in lower skill on the momentum and impulse material, and the purpose is to find the solution about increased understanding on momentum and impulse material. For method is in here, the research method used is quasi-experimental with a non-equivalent control group design. The design in this research involved the experimental class and the control class. And then the sampling that was done using a simple random sampling technique of 2 classes or 70 respondents with a range of 15 until 16 years old. The treatment in the experimental class was the context and problem-based learning model in the control class was problem-based learning model. And then for the result, based on the graph in here about percentage diagram of the achievement of basic problem solving skills on each indicator. So based on the result of the analysis of the problem solving skills, score data based on the figure 4, based based on the 4 aspect that appears, it appears that the highest score in the aspect of understanding the problem in the experimental class and control class. Meanwhile, the lowest score is the aspect of the examining the process and result. And then for discussion, the problem solving skills are the skills of a person to find a solution through a process that involves obtaining and organizing information. And then problem solving skills are skills of a person to find a solution through a process that involves obtaining and organizing information. For conclusion, there is an influence of the use of context and problem-based learning, or CPBL, model on the skill to solve physics problem, and the context and problem-based learning model is quite effective in improving the skill to solve physics problems. Also, the CPBL model can improve students' communication skills, confidence, and student collaboration in group learning. And then next to the fourth journal about changes in the participants in a community-based positive youth development program in Hong Kong, objective outcome evaluation using a one group pre-test post-test design, published by Research Quality Life on 2018. And then for background, so the development of adolescents has always been an important population theme of the United Nations. Adolescents go through several changes and take more responsibilities when they become both physically and psychologically take more mature. To grow into healthy, caring, and responsible adults, adolescents have to accomplish development tasks such as establishing personal identity and seeking independence from parental figures. In Hong Kong, several health-related risk behavior among adolescents have been identified, including adolescent substance abuse, youth delinquency, mental health problems, and etc. So Family Planning Association of Hong Kong 2017 yes, said like that before. And then positive youth development programs may be a promising strategy for promoting adolescent well-being and preventing development problems. For question, how the impact one group pretest post-test to developmental outcomes among Chinese students who participated in a community-based project, PATHS. And then the purpose is to identify the changes in different developmental outcomes among Chinese students who participated in a community-based project, PATHS. And the method is case study, which is the program participants were 70,544 junior high school students in 2014. And then to achieve diversity of student study sample, the study consists of 11 major districts in Kowloon, Hong Kong Island 2 district, Kowloon is 4 district, and then the last is New Territories, 5 districts. And then they invite to complete the pre-test assessment by filling the questionnaire containing items. And then at pre-test, 14,414 students completed the questionnaire. And then there is also post-test. The same questionnaire was distributed to students, and then 13,937 students completed the survey. So we will next to the result. Because in the result there are tables, but there are so many tables, so I just conclude with some word with some paragraph in here. So there are 4 points. The first is the overall program effect, which is a result of the univariate analysis, so that the scores of primary and second order factors of the CPYDS were significantly higher at post-test of the program, with the effect size partial at square of different subscales ranging from 0.01 to 0.02. However, no significant changes in bonding, social competence, and spirituality were found. And then the second is effect of the Tier 1 program, which is result based on univariate analysis also revealed that the students had significant increase in the scores in life satisfaction, but not in thriving. Therefore, only hypothesis 2 was supported. It is noteworthy that the effect size was small. And then the third is effect of the Tier 2 program. Result of the univariate analysis saw that students had significant increase in the scores in all positive youth development outcomes, with partial square ranging from 0.01 to 0.02. And then for the last is effect of the Tier 1 plus Tier 2 program, which is significant increases in the scores is in most of the PYD attributes were also found, except for bonding, social competence, and spirituality. The positive changes were also found in life satisfaction, and thriving. In general, students who participated in Tier 2 program only and both tiers program reported more positive changes than those who participated in Tier 1 program only. And then for discussion, there are several strengths of the present study. First is we conducted the program with the large sample size. Second is validated China's positive youth development scales was used to measure the different dimensions of positive youth development, which gave the full picture of the lesson mental health and other well-being outcomes. The third is as several webs of data has been gathered since the community-based project was launched in 2013, the objective outcome evaluation findings can be replicated in different years, and the credibility of the research can be accumulated. For conclusion, the present study has important implication on the role of positive youth development programs. The study found that the project PATHS is an important resource that can promote holistic development of adolescents in Hong Kong with the application of positive youth development approach. Enhancing protective factors for adolescents positive development is promising direction for prevention programs to reduce adolescent risk behaviors and improve their well-being. The last is fifth journal. This is about inquiry-based science education as a revision strategy, published by Journal of Baltic Science Education on 2020. The background is, in the recent decades, it is recommended to use active inquiry method in teaching and learning science, inquiry investigation of application of knowledge in new situations and on new problems and solutions are the best methods for students to develop their cognitive processes and performance skills. According to multiple resources, IBSE is based on the constructivist approach. On one of the model emphasizing the constructivist principle is the 5E educational model consisting of 5 phases: engage, explore, explain, elaborate, evaluate, and evaluate. For question, the first is how much does revision using IBSE or confirmation inquiry affect students' conceptual understanding? Second is, which student in terms of academic performance benefit from revision using IBSE? And then for purpose, the first is to identify the effect of using IBSE on students' conceptual understanding. Second is to describe benefit of using IBSE in terms of academic performance. The method is case study, which is there is a case study to the research was performed in the first term of 2017 or 2018 school year from September to mid-October. The research was conducted at 10 secondary schools of Slovakia. The selection of schools and teachers was deliberate. All 11 teachers who participated in the research took the innovative method in teaching chemistry and development of key competencies in students. And the course consists of 8 contact lectures and 2 e-learning distance lessons. And then for the result, there are 3 tables in here, and then from table 5, it can be seen that the mean success rate in the experimental and control group is comparable. The H01 hypothesis was formulated and tested to verify this assumption. For table 6, it can be seen that experimental group score higher in the post-test than control group. As the cognitive process dimension measured by the post-test, the EG score higher than the CG in all categories observed. And then for the table 7, so In here, mostly all of hypotheses, there is no significant difference. For discussion, at the beginning of revision in September 2018, a pretest was administered to identify the actual effect of the traditional lecture-based teaching model used previously from February to June 2018. In the pretest, students score higher in remembering and understanding, but lower in the higher order cognitive processes such as application and analysis. In the table, which is can see in table 5, and then these results were comparable with Slovak students' result in the PISA 2018 International Comparison Measuring Science Literacy, OECD 2019. And then therefore, an experimental was performed to compare the learning outcomes produced by using two different teaching methods, teaching with and without using IBSE based on confirmation inquiry during 10 lessons. In both groups, learning outcomes were measured using a post-test. The data obtained this way were processed to evaluate and summarize the effect of teaching methods. For conclusion, the presented research aimed to identify the effect of IBSE implementation or confirmation inquiry in learning, content, revision on the development of conceptual understanding. Until now, no pedagogical research focused on using IBSE in revision has been published. The findings indicate that in the revision phase, the implementation of IBSE was more effective than teaching without using IBSE in terms of developing conceptual understanding. A detailed analysis of the items tested showed that implementing IBSE helped develop the higher order cognitive processes such as application and analysis. The statistical analysis also showed that the investigated differences were statistically significant. The implementation of IBSE stimulated learning mainly in students with lower academic performance, which is students with grade 3 until 4. So I think enough. This is the last for my journal analysis. So if you have any questions or any suggestion for my explanation or PPT or anything, you can step in the comment because I will upload this video in the YouTube. So you can ask in the comment or give suggestion. So maybe enough from me. I will apologize to my mistake. So thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.